Yeah, some of the things that influenced me is I mean, growing up, me and my dad always wrenched on cars. Like, so I'm hands on with cars. Like, I find an old Chevy and I'm gonna do my car from the floor up. Like, because that's relaxing to me. I know a lot of people got a whole bunch of hobbies. I know two things: cars and music, and that's where I stay. Some of my favorite cars are 69 Camaro, 63, 65, and a 67 Corvette. I have a 67 GTO, old Acura Legend. Somebody just put that on one of the videos or whatever. Like, I guess they was talking about a story with me and Juvenile, and Juvie said, this was way, way back. He said, Mannie picked me up in a white Acura Legend. And this was before he was signed to Cash Money. And I was like, I still got that car. And he was like, you still got the car? What's up? This your boy, DJ Mannie Fresh, and I am a culture builder. Me growing up in New Orleans, in my area, the 7th Ward, I would describe my neighborhood like gumbo. Like if with gumbo, there's so many ingredients that make a good gumbo. My neighborhood was that. It was a whole bunch of ingredients, like from people that played jazz, just somebody that played drums, or somebody that played guitars or whatever, or the influence with my dad. My dad played a lot of instruments. My dad was a street DJ, so just growing up around that developed my sound. And I always say this, like, my Christmas gifts and birthday gifts was never ever toys. It was always some instrument shit, like, and I used to be angry. Like, I'm like, another turntable, but my dad knew something that I didn't know, and when I clicked into it and started messing with it, I was like, this is it. And even with me, one of my memorable super moments was Chic, Good Times. That song. My dad backspinning that song, it changed my life. Like, I was like, damn, how is he doing that? How is he making the record repeating and doing the little good. After seeing that, I was like, oh, I'm going to practice this. I'm going to get this. And around that time when my dad was doing that, just to backspin a little bit, Run DMC is like that, and Sucker MCs came out. And I remember hearing them drums and the way that sounded, I was like, this is my sound. This is where I need to be. And just the 7th Ward was full of that. Like, you had music from everywhere, every corner, every angle, and somebody that, provided you a stage to do different things. So that's what my neighborhood was like. Believe it or not, that light bulb moment for me was I used to have to take my dad's equipment to some of his gigs, as I got older or whatever. And then, I would have to pick his stuff up late. This was around my high school. I would say probably 10th grade, like, but I knew how to drive from stealing my mom's car. So my dad was like, okay, if you're not how to drive, we're going to put you to work. Like, my dad DJ'd every day at whatever, like somewhere at a hole in the wall bar or some shit, like just different ones all over the city. So like maybe around 9 p.m., I would have to take his DJ van. Now they call them raper vans. This big white van he had, and I had to go set up his equipment. And I had to go back whenever he was done to pick up his equipment. You know what I'm saying? But I came back one time early. I came back like to one of his gigs early, and they actually let me sit in. Even though I was underage, they let me sit in. And I actually saw what the DJ do. And, and that changed my life. Like with my dad, and the way I like to define what a DJ does is you take people away from their problems when they with you. If you're a good DJ, you take them away from everything that's going on in life for that moment that they with you. And, if you hold that crowd like that, I was like, this is what I want to do. And, and my dad was great at that. He was great at how he talked to you, how he played the songs, the selection that he picked. And that changed my whole perspective on, I was like, damn, you holding these people captive right now. And nobody cares about what's going on. Like, and it's low income areas. And I'm like, for this moment right now, nobody don't give a shit that they poor or something going on, or racism or none of that. Music held all of that for whatever amount of time you was with the DJ. So, and that right there had me mesmerized. So I would say my turning point was sometime young, before I even even got, my skills up or whatever. Just seeing my dad do that, that I knew I was going to be somewhere in that mix. Yeah, some of the things that influenced me is I mean, growing up, me and my dad always wrenched on cars, like, so I'm hands on with cars, like, I find an old Chevy and I'm gonna do my car from the floor up, like, because that's relaxing to me. I know a lot of people got a whole bunch of hobbies. I know two things: cars and music, and that's where I stay. Some of my favorite cars are 69 Camaro, 63, 65, and a 67 Corvette. I have a 67 GTO, old Acura Legend. Somebody just put that on one of the videos or whatever. Like, I guess they was talking about a story with me and Juvenile, and Juvie said, this was way, way back. He said, Manny picked me up in a white Acura Legend, and this was before he was signed to Cash Money. And I was like, I still got that car. And he was like, you still got the car? And, and they posted the car or whatever on Instagram or whatever. I got definitely Porsches. I got a 356 Porsche. I got a 993 Porsche, a couple of GT3s. Like, I just like cars, bro. This could go on and on. So what made Ultimate Breaks and Beats special, super extremely special, was that was like candy for DJs. That was just like getting a gift from the gods to, because a lot of the blueprint came from those breaks and those beats. The inspiration came from that. And, if you, in my era, everything was on wax. And what was so sweet about some of them, you had to go crate digging for them. Some of them it might have been one badass break on it, but you didn't mind paying for it. The other four of them might have been like, nah, I can't do nothing with that. But the one that was incredible, like that changed the whole spectrum of the party, because you had something that nobody had yet, or they didn't know where it came from or what to do. And what really, really made it a tool for me early on DJing and on the club scene in New Orleans, I would bring my sampler to the club. I would bring my SP12, and I would use loops from off of that and just put music on top of it. And that morphed into me producing. I started with break beats and just, putting bass lines on. So that kind of started, that break beat album started my production off, by going like, hey, I could take a loop off of this, put some music on it, and I can try it out in the club. The crazy thing about bounce music is that a lot of people didn't know how many songs I did, and and how many, because that was early on Mannie Fresh. Nobody really got, production credits or whatever. So even with me and some of my friends early on, KLC, my boy DJ WAP, we actually flipped Trigger Man over to instrumental and start running the instrumental and using it as a break for MCs to rap off of. And then it kind of morphed into bounce music. Because if you was at a block party and you had a good MC, you just let him do his thing or whatever. And one of the cool things about New Orleans is we definitely love 808 breaks. And, you find us an 808 break, we going crazy. And just there's two important elements of bounce music: Brown Beat, Cameron Paul, and Trigger Man. Drag rap, the Showboys. And I think Cameron Paul is from London or something or whatever. And the Showboys are from New York. And merging them two together and put some hand claps, you're going to have some booty shaking going on. But most of the early on bounce songs were Mannie Fresh productions. We don't even know who Roland is, but whoever Roland is, bro, the Roland 808 is like, it is the soundtrack to Down South. There's not too many songs, like that don't have a Roland 808, something in it. And the significance of hip hop, is the to me the dopest drum machine ever made. Like, there's nothing that sounds like an 808. And to find out that the 808 was a mistake, like it was bad chips, like that's what made the, like I don't know if you knew that or whatever, but the 808 was actually a mistake. Like the drum machine was some defective chips or whatever, and that's what made the sounds. And when they ran out of the chips, they couldn't produce the 808 again. So it was built on like some defective chips, like, and it's just but that's what made the boom. Like that's the closest they could have got to a kick. But look at what the 808 boom did to hip hop. You know, because any of the sounds don't sound nothing like what they name. A real snare does not sound like that. A real kick drum does not sound like that. A real cowbell does not sound close to that. Not, you know, but the uniqueness of it is unmatched. You know, if you take Marvin Gaye songs or whatever, like any song that had an 808 in it early on, we didn't even know why we liked it, but we really loved those sounds. It's one of them machines. It's almost like you got to be a DJ to because there's a fine tune button on it, but you got to mess with it a little bit while it's playing because it's a little bit off. Like, you know, you'll never be able to, and you know, it never locked into any other machine. Like, it was never like married to nothing perfect. It was almost like you had to match tempos and do it damn near like a DJ, but nobody mind doing all of that to make it work. What's up? This DJ Mannie Fresh, and you're watching 24/7 HH. You heard me?